Vietnam War. That's why I was in the military. It was 3 years, 2 months, and 9 days. But I wasn't counting. I never had more responsibility for the rest of my life, I don't think. I mean, as a 22-year-old kid, learn how to drive ships, go out in the South China Sea. That's before there was any, GPS or anything like that. You had to go out and shoot the stars to find out where the hell you are. And it was sort of fun. I couldn't get into grad school. I thought, well, see, they were drafting. And I figured, well, maybe I'll go to law school. So I took the LSATs and I got like 2 above plant life, And then I was a diplomatic courier in Northern Europe, with a gun and a briefcase handcuffed to me. And I finally got out of there, went and got an MBA because of the GI Bill. And then I started businesses that were failing. And that's what you have to do anything. You just have to fail, fail, fail. I mean, anything new you're going to do, you practice failing. You don't practice, you don't learn how to succeed. You learn how to fail. Learning how to succeed is a waste of time because anybody can succeed. I mean, when you succeed, it's easy. I mean, there's nothing to learn anymore. So you really have to learn how to fail. It's like learning to walk. When a kid learns to walk, he's going to take a step and fall on his ass 100 times before they learn to walk. So when we do things as a grown-up that's new, it's the same thing. At 81, I'm not going to get stronger. I'm not going to get smarter. I'm not going to get faster at anything. All that stuff is going downhill. But I can love harder. Why not? That's one thing you could grow in your life forever is just keep learning how to love harder. Why not? Became a consultant for big companies, like a market research consultant, and I'd get information for them to buy and sell companies and markets for this and that and the other thing. And I was stationed in Washington. Procter & Gamble was a client of mine, and they wanted to start a chain of pasta stores. So that's probably somebody on the board of directors. Hey, why don't we get in the pasta business? So I'd go out and look at the market and competitors and stuff like that. And I'd go to the libraries around Washington, D.C., because we have so many libraries because every agency has their own library for it. And they said, the librarian said, you want to know about pasta? Hey, go up to the 4th floor in 407 or whatever and talk to Charlie. He's our pasta expert. That just shocked me. And so when I would talk to Charlie, and Charlie's been studying pasta for the last 25 years. He's got a master's in it. He's got a PhD in it. And that's all he does is create studies and information and that nobody knows about. His wife is sick of hearing about it. When I walk in the door with a genuine interest in it, I mean, he just lights up and I can never get out. He would give me studies about all this stuff and what happens and how the prices and everything and who's making what. God, I had no idea. If you don't have marketing money and advertising money, you get free advertising. And the way you get free advertising is you become a guest and you act like an idiot. Because television loves idiots. Famous talk shows would use me as like the backup guy. Like Larry King, I must have done him, I don't know, 15, 20 times. I don't even know. There's usually some big, high-powered, famous person on the first half hour. And then what do you do? He said, come on, you'll be on the second half hour. But, Lesko, if the guy said he'll stay for another half hour, he's a big name, so they don't push him in the front. They get him out at the end of the half hour. Hey, can you stay for another half hour? But I'm in the green room. If the guy says no, they bring me out. The guy says yes, I go home. Or I also was used a lot for people who cancel at the last minute. Letterman would use me when somebody canceled. Who am I subbing for? Like I said, once for Christopher Walken at the last minute. I mean, they found me in Chicago somewhere like noon. They got me on the plane, and I think he taped about 6 o'clock in the early evening, and I was there to go on, with Christopher Walken. Wages in our country. Okay, back in 1979, which is a turning point in economics for us, 70% of all the wages went to 90% of the people. So the bottom 90% of the income scale were getting 70% of the wages. the top 10% was getting about 30% of the wages. Fast forward, that bottom 90% now only gets about 55%. Okay. And the top 5% is now getting up to 45%. So the share of the pie for 90% of us is shrinking every year. And it's not like we're not growing. Here's our GDP growth in that time. It's going like crazy. Yeah. So we're growing economically as a country, but who's getting it? Yeah. This is a list of poverty rates in developed countries. Is the percentage of people in that country that are poor. We're number one in creating poor people. We have more percentage of our population that are poor than any other developed country. So it's like 17, 18%. I mean, the average from all the developed countries is about 10% or so. So we create more poor people than any other developed country. Now, this is what we are number one in, and that's making millionaires, 24 million millionaires. So we're number one in millionaires and number one in creating poor people. That's what gets me up every day, earlier and earlier. Like if people want information, they go to the wrong source, because if they don't have money, because they go to Google. And Google is the last place to go for anything if you don't have money, because everything there are people that want to get money. This is capitalism, okay? That we pay for everything we need, okay? But if you don't have money, then you can't go there. But people don't know what else to do, so they get scammed, they lose money, and they just get worse off. And that's because they don't know where this other stuff is. Now, the other stuff, which I call the community society, we have the capitalist society of us, and then we have the community society of us. Now, the community society helps other people for nothing. They give you money for nothing. But that represents, a third of everything in our economy is community society. 2/3 is capitalism. But 1/3 is community, helping each other, like your neighbor. Okay, your neighbor's on fire. You're going to charge them to help put out the fire? No, you're part of the community. You're going to help them for free, right? So that's why we have these organizations to do that for people, and to help them and to grow so they can contribute to the capitalist society more. CareerOneStop.org. Okay, now what they do is train your employees for free, because we don't have a good education system and businesses don't like paying for training, so the government does. So if you hire people without the skills they need, they'll pay the salary, up to 80, 90% of the salary while they learn and feel good. Or they just give you, you can get hundreds of thousands of dollars to train like all your call center people or your marketing people, right? And that's training money. And as an individual too. Now in our country, you could, without a college degree, you could get paid $40,000 a year to train for a $100,000 a year job. Not going to college and paying them $40,000 a year. The government will pay you $40,000 a year.
If you enjoy this podcast, please make sure to subscribe. And to stay updated on everything that the Action Catalyst is up to, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Action Catalyst Podcast, and on Twitter at Catalyst_Action. And thanks for listening.